The Leningrad press was made up on the evening of June 21st, not knowing what would happen in a few hours. When Kyiv was bombed, peaceful news was in the kiosks. There the Soviet people were told about the excavations in Samarkand, and a myth was born. On March 21, 1941, on this very day, on the orders of Stalin, an expeditionary group was formed to explore the tomb of the great commander Amir Temur, Tamerlane. This group included the scientist Kary Nyazov, the learned linguist Semyonov, the learned anthropologist Gerasimov, the famous Uzbek writer Sadruddin Aini. The operator was Malik Kayumov. Why was this expeditionary group formed? Tamerlane or Timur, or Temir Aksek, as he was called in medieval Russian chronicles, which meant Iron Lane, was born in 1336 near the city of Shakharsabz. According to historical information, Timur was a distant relative of Genghis Khan. For Central Asia, the name Tamerlane is associated with the great campaigns of the conqueror. Timur was a great military leader and also a politician. He did a lot for his country and captured vast territories, forming a huge state in 1370. Unfortunately, it fell apart after his death. Death overtook the commander in 1405 in the city of Otrar during a military campaign against China. The body of the late Emir Timur was embalmed and sent to Samarkand, Uzbekistan, where he was buried in an ebony coffin in the family tomb of all Timurids, Gur Amir. His tomb was covered with a heavy jade slab, which his grandson Ulugbek brought from China. Tamerlane founded a strong dynasty, which still ruled for a long time scattered territories. In fact, Soviet scientists did not believe that Tamerlane was buried in the territory of Uzbekistan. In order to be sure that Tamerlane was buried in the territory of Uzbekistan, they wanted to open the tomb of Amir Temur. In Guri Amir, tomb of Tamerlane, besides Tamerlane, his grandson Mirza Ulugbek and his younger son Shokruk Mirza were buried. On March 15, 1941, the expedition members arrived in Samarkand. But it was not easy for them. The people were not satisfied with the decision of the scientists and gathered near the tomb of Amir Temur to show their discontent. 1941 on June 2, scientists opened the first tomb. The skeleton was not in good condition. Semyonov took with him the head skull, but it turned out to be the tomb of Amir Temur's son Shokruk Mirza. On the second day, scientists tried to open the second tomb, but the stone in the tomb was too heavy. They had to use a special device to open the tomb. When they opened the tomb, they saw that the head was lying next to the skeleton. Scientists immediately realized that this was the grandson of Amir Temur Mirza Ulugbek, because it was Ulugbek's head that was cut off by order of his son. The members of the expedition repeatedly recalled that during the entire process of opening the tomb of the commander, various kinds of incidents occurred. First, on June 19, when scientists were just getting ready to work on raising the plates, scientific instruments showed off-scale results of magnetic measurements. The magnetic field in the tomb was extremely strong. Many even claimed that at night one could observe a mysterious glow from the Gur Amir mausoleum. Finally, the time has come for the third tomb, Tamerlane, but before opening it, scientists paid attention to what was written on the stone of the tomb. There were written such words: "We are all mortals, the time will come, we will all leave this world. There were great people before us and there will be after us. If anyone does not recognize this, and opens the tomb or disturbs the dead, let him face the most terrible disaster." On June 21 of the same year, scientists began to open the tomb, but their work went the other way. At first, the device for lifting the stone failed. They began to move the stone manually. By lunchtime, the scientists were able to move the stone apart. There was only sand, but the scientists did not want to give up and began to dig the ground. By 13:00, they were removing 3 marble slabs from there, and at the end they saw the coffin. When they finally reached the coffin, all the lighting devices turned off. Strange sounds were heard. It became difficult to breathe and they announced a break. Cameraman Malik Kayumov said in his interview, "During the break, I went out into the yard to have some rest. In the yard I saw 3 old men holding a strange book in their hands. We greeted them and they started asking if I was working in the opening of the tomb of Amir Temur. I jokingly replied to them that I was their chief without me, they would not be able to work, and in response they told me, "It is impossible to open the tomb of Timur, otherwise a war will begin." I asked them, "How do you know this?" They showed me a book where it was written in Arabic letters, "You must not disturb the great commander, otherwise the war will begin." I got scared and called the rest of the expedition. They read the book well, and Sadrid and Aina began to quarrel with the old people and they left. I thoughtfully watched the old people, but they didn't even reach the turn. They evaporated. I was scared. I couldn't believe my eyes. I ran after them to find them, but I couldn't even know the local population. At 15:00, the lighting fixtures were fixed and the last stage of work began. When scientists began to open the coffin of Tamerlane, the whole room was filled with a pleasant smell. When they opened the coffin inside, they saw the skeletons of the hero. A learned anthropologist picked up the head skull of Tamerlane. They immediately realized that it was he at his feet that had traces of an arrow that hit him at his feet. The Soviet anthropologist Mikhail Gerasimov was able to identify many of the characteristic features of Tamerlane, even his hair color and the approximate appearance of his face. As a result of the analysis, it turned out that the conqueror was tall, physically very strong and prepared man, without excess weight, with red-brown hair of medium length. Emir Timur wore a long mustache and beard. Thanks to scientific research, it was possible to find out that the commander's hair color was natural and he did not use anything chemical. At dawn on June 21, 1941, Nazi Germany launched the first massive strikes on the territory of the Soviet Union. Without an official declaration of war, enemy aviation began bombing airfields, railway stations, naval bases and cities along the entire western border of the Soviet Union and to a depth of 250 to 300 kilometers from it. Simultaneously with the artillery attack, Luftwaffe troops bombed cities in Ukraine, Belarus and the Baltic states. At dawn, key strategic facilities in Kyiv, Zhytomyr, and Sevastopol were subjected to a massive blow. The most terrible war in the history of mankind has begun. Hearing about the beginning of the war, all members of the expedition lost themselves. But still, Gerasimov took the head skull of Tamerlane to Moscow to create a portrait of his head. During the war, everyone forgot about the head skull of Emir Timur, all but one man, Malik Kayumov. But no one believed him. He believed that he could stop the war and decided to go to the front and prove himself there. As a result, he was able to get a meeting with Georgy Zhukov himself and told how it all happened. He asked me to report this to Stalin. Zhukov did not neglect this information, and after the Supreme Commander learned about the warning of Emir Timur, he ordered the reburial of the ashes of the great commander, observing all the rules of the religion of Islam. After that, the head was loaded into the plane and flew over the front sky 3 times and returned to its place in the tomb. Only then did the sparks of war begin to die out. 2 days after the closing of the tomb, victory was announced at the threshold of Stalingrad. Soviet soldiers break through the German confrontation and by leaps and bounds win back the lost territories. It is difficult to believe in this story, but the fact remains. Unfortunately, many myths have been created in recent years about the Great Patriotic War. Behind their external piety lies a misunderstanding of the fact that often, shifting the solution of our earthly tasks to God and His saints, the creators of these myths thereby belittle the role of the army and the people in the victory over Nazi Germany. But what do you think about it? This is where our video ends. Friends, I will be very grateful if you just like, write a comment and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for being with us.